Hello, adventurers. Nice to see you. The masterclass will begin shortly. Please introduce yourself by writing your name and country in the chat. We're going to give it 2 minutes just so everyone can show up. Please feel free to write your name and country. We'll say hi, and a couple of minutes we'll begin this masterclass. I hope you're all very excited. We'll introduce it in just a little while, but it is the road to success, and we hope you're as excited about this masterclass as we are. We know there's been a lot of requests for this masterclass, so we can't wait to show you what we have in store. Hi there. Hello, Sheikh Taha from Pakistan. Hello, Melon from South Africa. Hi there. We'll just give it one more minute. Hello, Simran from Bangladesh. Anurag here from India. Hi, everyone. It's great to see you. A bunch of new faces. Yeah, it's really nice to see you all. Einab from Costa Rica. Hi there. Ara from the UAE. Great to see so many nice new faces. I wonder if you've been to a masterclass before. If this is your first one, welcome. So we'll just start in just a moment. If everyone's ready, let's begin. So hello everyone, welcome to the Enterprise Adventure Road to Success Masterclass. What next for you and your business? And this masterclass will take you through something that's been often requested on the Enterprise Adventure. So you might have started your business, a small version of your business, say a little stand, or you've run it for a week, or maybe you haven't got to that point yet, but you've seen other people do so, and you've thought to yourself, well, that's all very good, but I don't know what I have to do next to make my business a success. I'd like a guide to help me get it off the ground. And for this reason, we've set up this masterclass with our expert today, Hannah McLaughlin. So before we begin and Hannah introduces herself, we've got a little warm-up question. So I want you all to write in the chat, what is your favorite company and why? So have a little think about that. And I want you to think what your favorite company is and why. It could be anything. It could be a fashion brand. It could be a sports brand, maybe a restaurant, a fast food restaurant, maybe an online company. So just have a minute to write your answer in the chat. Hi, Mutiza from Bangladesh. Hi, Gungan from Nepal. Nice to see you. Personally, I quite like skincare companies. I like things like The Body Shop or yeah, things like that. I guess I like I quite like maybe clothes, or I actually quite like maybe a burger. So, you know, the classics, right?
Oh, no, for sure.
Oh,
I mean, my one of my favorite companies, and I think somebody actually responded in the chat, Ridezilla.
oh yeah.
I believe someone had interned at a car rental company, which is a really great experience, and that's very cool. And I know for me personally, one of my favorite companies is actually a beverage company based in New York, which is where I'm currently based. It's a sparkling water company called Sanzo, which has Asian inspired flavors like lychee, sparkling water. It was founded in New York City, and obviously, I love the product. I love the growth story, and the company is definitely in a really great market. But you know, Elizabeth, I also love all the things you mentioned.
Yes, I don't know if any of you are into skincare like me, but I could rattle off a number of brands, but I won't bore you. Um, I've seen that Ainav says Fiverr makes marketing services cheaper and more available. And Aira says Adidas because they sell the best sportswear for women. That's a good point. I also like doing sports. Matusa says I like IT companies that have online services. That's really a good point. The convenience of that, I think, is a big part of why people like certain companies. They have brand loyalty to them. Simran says Nike. Yes, very good. Anyone else wants to share before we get started, just to get your brain? SpaceX. Haha. Wow. Oh, that is a company and it's very unique.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, and
really,
I believe there was a marketing services company that was mentioned, Fiverr Made.
yes.
Very cool.
Oh, well, thank you everyone for your contributions. So we're going to move on now and get into our presentation. So our expert today is Hannah McLaughlin. So why don't you introduce yourself, Hannah, before we ask you a few questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Elizabeth. And thank you, everybody, as well. I'm really excited to be here today. I've actually had the opportunity to speak with you adventurers before. I know some of you are new, though. During the financial statements course, I was very excited and grateful to have the opportunity to return for the Road to Success Masterclass. A little bit about myself. I'm based in New York City in the US, and I've worked across various different functions in finance as well as an investor and in an early stage startup as well. So I'm happy to share my insights and observations, and I hope that this class is helpful for all of you, no matter where you are in your business endeavor. And of course, you know, please feel free to ask questions, and I'll try to be as helpful as possible.
Thank you so much, Hannah. I definitely recommend checking out the Finance for Beginners Masterclass that's available on the Enterprise Adventures site. It's a really good introduction to finance, and especially the finance mission in the Enterprise Adventure is something a bit difficult for a lot of people. So it really helps with that to get you comfortable with all the words and terms that are used. So I definitely recommend checking that out if you have the time. Yeah, really excited. And if you haven't seen that before, that's okay. Let's ask a few questions and get going. So, first up, how have you partnered with and helped companies achieve their long-term business objectives and goals? Because this masterclass is, after all, about planning for the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I had referenced before, I've worked as an investor, I've worked directly within a startup, and as well as an advisor. So, specific to this question, I've worked alongside companies as an advisor and also as well as a capital provider, meaning that I've helped invest in a lot of these companies as they've tried to reach their next growth objective. And I've also worked again within a startup as well, so growing the company from within. And you know, while working at a startup, I've helped grow the business by helping us connect to potential investors and advisors and answering their questions, while also providing necessary support to the CEO and the COO with suggestions on strategy and how we can consider expanding our product line as well as into different markets. And as an advisor and as a capital provider at various different firms, I've helped companies by one, studying investment opportunities and directly investing in their companies to again support their growth objectives. And two, assessing those growth objectives, their cost spend, and working alongside management teams to discuss really how to improve profitability and the company overall. So for example, several companies that I had worked with were demonstrating, severe profit declines because some of their supplier agreements were very unfavorable. So we went out into the market to really evaluate different supplier options in order to really help reduce their costs, which helped the business overall.
Thank you so much, Hannah. I think thinking about the long-term solutions is something that you really have to take into account if you want to grow your business. And that takes all sorts of forms, whether it be marketing or figuring out your costs and how to grow them. And we'll discuss that in more detail later in the masterclass. So our second question is, what are some of the common issues and challenges you've seen companies face when they're trying to expand their business?
This is a good question, and I think a couple things come to mind. So first and foremost, and Elizabeth had just referenced this, but really just not planning ahead and not thinking about the long term. It's important to balance optimism and thinking about the future, but also being realistic about what you can achieve in the near to medium term in the next year or so, and really being able to plan accordingly. And that could mean from just a strategy perspective, but also ensuring that you have enough cash in case anything were to happen. Secondly, really not being a cohesive team, meaning that there's vagueness there with respect to who has what responsibility, people not communicating properly, and people really not working together as a team. And especially if that happens at the management level or amongst the C-suite, the CEO, COO, CFO, then that will potentially impede or prevent the rest of the team being able to succeed in the long term. And lastly, not really doing the diligence, meaning not doing enough research on these strategies or their growth objectives. So for example, if you are trying to grow a business and you decide you want to expand into different markets, really just not doing your research on who's in that market, would they want your product or service? And essentially what that causes is you to waste your time and your money, which you could be using towards things that would be more valuable to your company. And lastly, make sure you like and would use your own product and use your own service. It's important that the people who are starting the business or people who are leading a business can actually find use for the product or the service that they're trying to sell to customers.
That's a very good point, Hannah. Thank you. We always say you should do your research, whether it's about your customers, your competitors, or your product itself. The more that you know, the easier it will be in the long term. So moving on, you've created a business. What's next? Now, you don't have to have actually created a business yourself, but imagine that you have. Now, there may be some of you who have set things up just to begin with, but imagine you've run, for example, a bakery for a week. What do you do next? You've set things up, but you're not sure how to make it grow. Here are the key questions to ask yourself. So we'll discuss these all in detail. What is my company's identity? What is our brand? What issue or gap does my product or service aim to resolve? And how will my product or service evolve over time? Who am I selling to and who is our audience? How much money do I need to reach the next stage of growth? And how will I secure funding? And what are our long-term goals? So I wonder if any of you have thought about this previously, or if you have any questions about them. Now, remember, if you have any questions about specific ways you can grow your own business, or if you don't understand anything, please put them in the Q&A and we'll get to them at the end. But you're welcome to ask questions at any time. So these are the key questions you have to ask yourself when you're expanding. But first of all, you may have heard about this, the elevator pitch. Now, in the enterprise adventure, you do something called a sales pitch. You can either write it or video yourself, but it's something you should be taking forward in all your life if you're interested in business or even in promoting yourself. The elevator pitch is a really short and attention-seeking summing up of what your business is that can get people interested. So I'll let Hannah explain in more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. And Elizabeth did a great job of summarizing what an elevator pitch is. But essentially, an elevator pitch is an idiom often used in the US and perhaps in other countries. But essentially, it's basically what you use to describe your company, what you do, and most importantly, really the value proposition, meaning the value that your company brings or the type of solution or problem that your company aims to resolve. And essentially, where the phrase elevator pitch came from is that you should be able to succinctly describe all of this in 1 to 2 minutes to somebody if you were riding in an elevator with them. And it's a play on words, but the reality is you never know who you could run into at a gathering or at school or in a building who could be helpful to your business and really just helpful to, to know in general. So again, should definitely have, something back of mind that if that situation were to ever arise, that you could very quickly just go through, what your company does. And we've included a very basic elevator pitch template over here, as you guys can see. But for example, going back to the company I'd mentioned, the sparkling water company, if I were to, and again, I don't run this company, but for example, if I were the founder, the CEO of this company, I might say, oh, Company X is the first Asian-inspired flavored water made with real fruit and no added sugar. We aim to share authentic Asian flavors to new and familiar audiences to encourage discovery and a deep appreciation of East and South Asian culture, while bolstering better for you alternatives to traditional sodas and sugary drinks. And to date, we've satisfied, X customers through so many thousand retailers across New England and California, and we're in the process of expanding to the rest of the US. So something very short and very quick that just gets the point across.
Yes, thank you for that, Hannah. It's a really good explanation of the elevator pitch. So imagine you're with someone you want to impress in an elevator. What's something you can say to get their attention? And if you draw your attention to the template, it's got a few ways that you can put in your own unique spin on it. For example, the pain points or challenges, and the goal is what your product or service will do to tackle them. And you can say you've researched your market, the target personas, your customers, and what you offer, what makes you special. So that's a kind of basic elevator pitch that you can modify for yourself. So moving on, here are a few other ways you can think about when you're growing your business. So road to success, number 1, there are a few road to successes. The first one is sourcing and distribution. So sourcing, if no one knows what that means, is consider multiple local partners to determine who's the best partner to source your materials from. Who can provide the material at the lowest cost? Who can deliver the quantity of items you need in a timely manner? Meanwhile, distribution means, how do you plan to deliver this product or service to your customers? Most early stage startups will be a self-distribution model. The company itself will deliver the product or service, but as you grow, you should consider alternatives. Have you got anything to add to that, Hannah?
Yes, absolutely. So as Elizabeth said, sourcing and distribution are critical parts of the entire business process or value chain. So sourcing would be at the very beginning, and essentially, Elizabeth provided a really great summary of what sourcing means. So typically in the early stages of a company, say you're just starting, typically how you would best source a supplier would be that you would survey local potential partners. So for example, if you're running a baked goods business, the best method would be to visit your local grocers or farmers markets or wherever you can find ingredients, perhaps it's online, to determine which will provide you with the raw materials at the cheapest price. Because again, we're focused on, and also the quality that you're looking for is something important to remember as well. We're obviously looking to provide a quality product to our customers, but also looking to increase our profitability as well. And for example, if your company is a little bit more specialized, like you require a manufacturer to create your product, which in that case, the manufacturer would be the supplier, or once your company has grown meaningfully in sales volume, that's when you would consider contracting with a larger supplier. So this requires you to do your homework. So really, and there are a couple of different angles to go about this. One, you could look at other competitors or larger companies that do similar things to you and see who their supplier is. You could look through your social media networks and determine if somebody works within that industry or within a supplier company that could potentially be a helpful partner. You could look through trade directories, but really the best way is to just ask somebody who has experience in that industry that you are directly operating in. And there are certain considerations or things to think about when you're picking your suppliers. So making sure that they are in compliance with local laws is very important. Make sure you're able to survey or ask past and current customers to see how their experience has been. And just make sure you talk to multiple different suppliers at the same time to see who you can get, the best agreement with, and to make sure that they're legitimate. And with respect to distribution, again, it's on the later end of the, kind of the value chain. But as Elizabeth had stated, typically early stages, it's a self-distribution model, meaning you would distribute yourself, or you may potentially partner with a distributor who will warehouse, meaning that they will keep a large number of inventory of your product and distribute for you, but you yourself are responsible for finding your customers. So for example, if you're an early stage soda company, you would be the one selling the soda to the customer, but the distributor is one that physically transports the soda from the warehouse to the customer. And again, once you've grown in certain volume or in certain scale, that would be the time to consider engaging with a wholesale distributor, which again, a lot of terms being thrown out, but definitely highly encourage you guys to look into these terms or ask any questions if there's any confusion. But a wholesale distributor, essentially what they do is that they will buy a lot of your product at a certain discount, and then they will go through their own list of potential customers and sell to their customers. So essentially you're selling a lot more of your product, but there's going to be a little bit of a cut to your profit, since this wholesale distributor will take a cut from the potential sales value of the product itself. So again, it's really up to planning, determining if you have enough cash, if you have enough scale and growth and momentum to really determine if it's worth it, whether or not to work with an established supplier, and two, a wholesale distributor. But again, early stages, it will be mostly self-motivated and self-sustained, but just something for the long term to consider.
Yes, very good. So starting out, you might be delivering things by yourself or using your help from your parents or your friends, for example, but doing your research, I think, is again the most important thing. So when you're buying materials or things online, you should also do your research to make sure you're getting the best deal, that you're not getting scammed. I know a lot of you source your products online, but it goes for in person as well. So our next road to success is how to build a team. So this is very exciting. So when you're making a team, when you're adding employees or workers to your business, you should be thinking, who's got the distinct responsibilities? Whose strengths and weaknesses fit with what role? You should write out the specific people, job titles, and responsibilities for every individual. You should interview, possibly informally if you're just getting your friends on board, candidates, or consider people in your network. Maybe you can ask teachers or people in your area. And mentorship and advisors, these are not individuals who will directly operate your business, but who have related experience in your field and can help provide their insights. So getting advice from other people is always worthwhile. So what do you have to say about this, Hannah?
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And the success of your company and your startup will really be determined by the strength of your team, is how I always like to think about it. And I think that a common trap that a lot of early stage companies find themselves in is that, one, they did not proactively identify the roles that they actually need, the roles and responsibilities that they actually needed to sustain the company moving forward. And I think, and secondly, not doing a very good job of, segmenting by person, which responsibilities fall under which person. And lastly, not having one central point to really oversee all these different roles and ensuring that everybody's on the same page. And again, I think that a lot of this is tied to that really fundamental strength of communication and organization as well. So I personally have found that the best method to go about it is typically when you start a company, maybe it's just by yourself, or maybe it's with, a handful of people. But even from the get-go, determining everybody's strengths and what responsibilities should fall under them. So for example, if there is somebody who is very good at math and very good at accounting, maybe more of the CFO or the accountant responsibilities fall under that person. Whereas somebody who's, more client facing and better at sales, perhaps, the sales functions fall under that person. But really just think about what responsibilities you need for each person, really write those out in great detail. And as you continue to grow your business and you've identified a need to bring on more people, really have that in mind when you're interviewing candidates. And there are, a number of different ways to go about interviews. You can go through people in your network that stand out to you that could potentially align very well with what you've outlined. You could potentially market an open position and have people come in, proactively reach out to you and to host those formal conversations. But the important thing is just to really focus again on which talent and strengths you're really looking for and identifying if that is the right person for that role. And lastly, with respect to mentorship and advisors, definitely very critical and oftentimes not appreciated enough. So starting a company is obviously very difficult. But again, if there are people in your network or even people who are adjacent to your network, meaning that, you Google or whatever search engine you choose to use, if you identify somebody who could potentially be helpful and you've discovered that there is a person in between you and that person who could connect you, just proactively ask if there's a way, or try to discover a way if there's to be connected to that person. And oftentimes even just cold outreaching is very effective. There are a lot of experienced individuals who have received and have been on the receiving end of mentorship and are really actively looking to mentor young investment or young business professionals. So again, these will be key. It's good to have a sounding board to really voice ideas and strategies and really have their input, because again, they've had direct experience in what you're choosing to do. So something to be mindful of. You can seek mentors and advisors wherever you go. If you have conversations and you think this person could really help me in X function, just keep them in mind and keep in contact with them as well and keep regular discourse.
Absolutely. It's really important to grow your network, and you can do that even early on. It will come in handy later down the line. I can also see a few of you have maybe raised your hands or added questions to the Q&A. We will be answering a few questions at the end of the masterclass, so just sit tight for that and we'll be answering a few of your questions then. So following on, here's the road to success number 3. Identifying your core audience. So what you should keep in mind when identifying your core audience or customers, your envisioned demographic, who did you create this product or service for? You should ask for feedback from your existing customers And you should look at other companies in your space and see who they sell to, your competitors, and who are they selling to. And you should also try to read industry blogs and forums. Try to see what's going on in your space, if there are any upcoming trends, perhaps. So what do you have to say about this core audience, Hannah?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, when you're creating your product or service, I think that's something that should be kept in mind at all times is who exactly are you marketing this for? Um, for example, if you're marketing a certain software that would really help businesses, it's like a software collaboration tool that would really help small businesses um, encourage collaboration amongst their team members, then perhaps you're focused on small businesses. And what you do once you've identified your core demographic or your core customer is you tailor your marketing, which is what we're going to address next, but you tailor your marketing to that specific customers. And on top of that, once you're looking to expand into different markets, really identify which markets or geographies have a high concentration of the type of customer that you're ultimately looking for. And with respect to industry blogs and forums, obviously dependent on where you are, but would definitely take some time to just, utilize whatever search engine is preferred. And a lot of, popular news outlets or, industry blogs have a lot of information that is free. And that can be specific to the type of company that you are looking to create, and would definitely subscribe to email newsletters, which will come, every day or every week or every so frequency. And just definitely take some time to familiarize yourself with what's going on, how different companies have approached and targeted their core audience. So really just doing your research and also soliciting feedback from your existing core customer and determining, what they've liked about the product or service, what they think could be improved upon. And that's something that, especially early stages, should always be actively pursued.
Great. It's really important to know what's happening in your space, because most likely some people may have thought of something first, or maybe they're a chance to connect with them and get a really important addition to your network. So it's always good to see what's going on. So the road to success number 4 is marketing and administrative. So this is more important than it may seem. In fact, marketing is probably one of the most important aspects. So there are different types of marketing, as I'm sure you may know. Non-digital marketing, such as flyers, newspaper advertisements, etc. This is an efficient way to attract local attention, but it will likely cost money, for example, printing flyers. Meanwhile, digital marketing, social media, is often cheaper or even free. It can reach a larger audience. We also have another masterclass about this on the Enterprise Adventure site about social media marketing. So if you want to know more about that specifically, go check it out. And finally, do you have the right administrative or technological framework? What is it? For example, deciding which individuals should have access to which files and documents. So maybe you have a friend who just works with selling things, but they're not doing the finances. So you might want to make sure that everyone is trusted with which important files or products. So what do you have to say about marketing and administrative, Hannah?
Yeah, I would say with respect to marketing, as Elizabeth had touched upon, there is another masterclass that does a really great job of just walking through, the most effective methods of digital marketing and social media marketing. So I highly encourage all of you to watch it. I've watched it myself, and I think it's a great masterclass. But in summary, I think Elizabeth did a great job walking through. It's essentially you can bifurcate it, or you can bucket it into two different types of marketing. So non-digital and digital. Non-digital is a little bit more old school. Does require money, just given the actual materials needed to create flyers or to have a billboard or to have newspaper advertisements. But again, typically very effective for local advertisements. So within your small neighborhood or your small community. So something that shouldn't be overlooked, but would be mindful of your budget. And that is something we address later on. And with respect to digital marketing, again, would definitely review that masterclass. Think it's very helpful, but typically social media up to a certain degree tends to be free or less costly, can reach a larger audience. And especially if you have a product or even a service that can be delivered direct to consumer or online, then this would definitely be the type of marketing that you should be targeting. And obviously you could go on for hours and hours about different marketing individuals who exist within social media you could partner with, etc. But again, for the long term and for where you guys are kind of at with respect to your different business endeavors, would highly encourage looking at that masterclass that Elizabeth was referencing. And with respect to administrative and technological framework, I think this is something that should, again, is kind of one of the foundational elements throughout all of the topics we've spoken about, and something that we'll also speak about next. But just making sure that everybody within your organization has the right access to whatever documents, and ensuring that there are 1 to 2 individuals who have oversight over everything, and making sure everybody, again, is very aligned and ensuring everyone's on the same page.
Absolutely. Thank you for the concise explanation, Hannah. I just wanted to say, I noticed Inav in the chat was asking about getting your students on the Enterprise Adventure. If you email us at info@enterpriseadventure.org, or just go to the Enterprise Adventure site, we'll be able to give you a step-by-step guide. It probably wouldn't be able to do so in a masterclass situation, but if you email us, we'll be able to give you all the resources that you need. So just do that, and that will be perfect. So next up, road to success number 5, budgeting and fundraising. So this is very important. Budget. You should possibly create a 6 months, 1 year, and if you want, 5-year financial model. But at the very least, where do you want to see yourself in 6 months to a year? This will help you to create a budget so you can not only estimate costs going forward, but ensure you're not spending money where you shouldn't. And fundraising. If sales that are generated by your business are enough to sustain growth, that's great. However, many startups will eventually need external sources of funding, for example, a loan from a bank or friends and family. We also have, you can download a sample loan proposal short form here. It will be available in the resources on the Enterprise Adventure once the masterclass is uploaded, but you can Google for one, and they're all quite similar. So do you have anything to add about budgeting and fundraising, Anna?
Yes, and actually very quickly on the administrative and technological framework, I would also highly encourage all of you to, again, whichever search engine is preferred, but just look up different collaborative tools or, different types of software that you could use to really help just organize and streamline your companies. So for example, some free collaborative tools are obviously, depending on access, Google Docs or Miro. And then some cheaper options, depending on the size of your company, Teams, Zoom, Dropbox, etc. So definitely highly encourage you to kind of look through those options, because they can be very helpful, or even if, just sitting down with the founding team or the senior team and determining what kind of structure you would like to establish. So very quickly on that. But with respect to budgeting and fundraising, this is definitely going to be the backbone of sustaining your company's growth long term. So with respect to budgeting specifically, it's important to create a 6-month, 1-year, and 5-year financial model. So this can also just be very high level, but what I would focus on is really what you envision your sales trajectory looking like over these time periods. And that I would break that down by number of customers that you estimate times, the price of the product. You can determine what is the most appropriate breakout for the type of product or service that you're selling. But definitely something very helpful just to, one, ensure that you're meeting your targets. And it's good to just be, obviously optimistic and very growth oriented, but also being, very realistic as well. And also just really outlining the different costs that you would anticipate over the next 1, 6 months, 1 year, and 5 years. And then with respect to fundraising, this is a really important point. So obviously when starting a business, there are anticipated startup costs. And, typically at a certain point, even if you're generating a lot of sales, you're going to need external sources of funding or money in order to really reach your next goal objective. So there are a couple of different avenues to go about this. So probably the most ideal and the most preferable would be family and friends. And the reason why this is most ideal is that this is the most flexible form of getting money. So typically, and again, this will be very much determined on what types of conversations you have with your family and friends. Some family and friends may want to do a loan where you have to pay them back after, X amount of time, or maybe you have to pay them interest. And again, this will depend on the types of conversations that you have. Some will be more lenient and give you money for, an undetermined amount of time until you're able to, repay them. Or some may do it in exchange for some percentage of, some percentage ownership of your company in the longer term future. So, for example, with respect to the latter example, if you decide based on your conversations that your friends loan you $10 today, and then in the next round when you raise more money you receive $90, then technically your friends would be entitled to 10% of your company. So very simple math, and it's a little bit more intricate than that, but just a very simplistic example. The second form, which is pretty common as well, is a loan from a bank. So typically, ideally, you would go to a bank where you already have savings or a checkings account, because they will likely give you a better rate. And because you are a customer, they will be more likely to want to loan you money. And typically how it works is that you'll be given a certain amount, and then you'll owe a certain percentage interest rate every year until you're able to pay back that amount. And that'll be at the end of however many years that you guys agree upon. It could be 5 years, it could be 3 years, it could be longer. And the sample loan proposal short form that you see attached here, you guys will have access to after this presentation, is a pretty good and simplistic loan proposal that you could definitely go into a bank and will just give the banks a pretty good idea of what your company does, where you guys are looking to go, and really just seeing if there's that alignment there and they're able to provide you that capital. And then lastly, for early stage companies, another popular form is actually crowdfunding, and anybody can do this. It won't be as heavily vetted as in a bank, so that is the one positive of crowdfunding. But on average, only 25% of campaigns are typically crowdfunded, and there are different forms of this. So one form could be through donation, where people will give you money and don't expect anything in return. The second could be rewards, where people will invest in your company, and in exchange they will expect a discount to your product or certain exclusive rewards. Third would be equity, which again would be a certain percentage ownership of your company. And lastly is more of in the form of a bank loan or debt. So they'll give you a certain amount of money in exchange for a certain interest rate in addition to the original amount that you have to pay back after a certain number of years. So there are a number of different crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter, EquityNet, CircleUp, Lending Club. Would definitely do your research as to which makes the most sense. But again, based on what I've experienced, family and friends tends to be the most flexible and probably the most early stage friendly of the three options that I've laid out.
Yep. Again, do your research and see what works for you. So that's probably, the best advice we can give you. But we know that this is a difficult subject, finance. So again, check out the other masterclass that we did, also starring Hannah, about finance for beginners, available on the Enterprise Adventure website if you need more details about this. So finally, here are a few other considerations that you could take into account: a new market entry, product or service improvements, and legal. And Hannah will just give a brief overview of what these other considerations are.
Yeah, absolutely. And also want to leave enough time for any potential questions. But With respect to other considerations, really just, a high level bucketing of any, additional considerations when moving forward with growing your business. So again, with new market entry, we've referenced this throughout the duration of this masterclass, but essentially what that means is that once you've successfully grown your business within the local area that you're currently operating, it's really determining what's next and which new geography that you're really looking into. And again, a huge part of that is determining who your core customer is and determining when you've gone to that new market and really done your diligence and looked into it very deeply, determining if there's a really going to be a receptiveness to your product or your service within that specific community. And there are a number of different ways of going about this. Again, looking at what your peers have done within those specific communities, looking at what larger companies have done, going to those markets yourself, based on how feasible that is, and kind of really surveying the land and seeing if you could envision your product or your service being sold there, or even surveying a couple of local community members and determining if that is the right move. And also, once you've decided upon, entering a new market, really talking to potential hires to see if they could run that part of the business as well and really work to operate and to expand into that specific area. So again, something I think a little bit longer term, and something once you've had a fair amount of success within the current geography that you're operating in, something to think about in the long term. And obviously the goal is always to expand, but to do it with balance. Secondly, product or service improvements. Again, this ties back to always soliciting feedback, especially when you're an early stage company, to determine, what are your weaknesses, really seeing how you can address that. But also, again, thinking about once you've had a good amount of success with your current product or your current service, seeing what adjacent areas make sense to tag on to that. So, for example, if you currently sell, soda, maybe an adjacent area could be sparkling water, for example, but just really having a cohesive portfolio offering. And that way you'll attract more customers as well and really be able to, again, expand into different markets. So something that you should always be thinking about, and that typically evolves over time. And, obviously, again, balancing with what's feasible. And then legal, again, just ensuring that you're in compliance with, certain local regulations, or ensuring that, patents are in place. And again, I think this is something that will just require research. And, as you grow larger, something that you should definitely consider. And, there's a lot of, like tax structure and et cetera, like a lot of different things, but I think something maybe a little bit longer term or maybe a little bit further down the fairway. But just something, again, just always ensure that you're being compliant with local regulation and ensuring that you're always doing your research and making sure that you are allowed to sell your product or your service in whatever area to whatever customer.
Yes, I think probably the most important thing, don't do anything illegal. That can be our official line. Please don't do anything illegal. Not that I'm saying any of you would. I can't even imagine what that would be, but nevertheless, that's the line. So, by the way, you can share your thoughts on this masterclass just before we get to the Q&A. I'm going to put it in the chat, a link to a Google form, which I've just posted in the chat, which has a little survey that you can fill out about how you found the masterclass, what you'd like to see in future ones, and so on and so forth. And we'll be offering lots more enterprise adventure events in the new year, so don't worry about that. Yeah, and also if you have any more thoughts, please send them to info@enterpriseadventure.org if you want to get involved. If you have any questions about the missions themselves, please send them there and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So thank you, Hannah. Now is the time for everyone to ask the questions. We'll try and take as many as we can. And yeah, we'll take as many as we can. So good luck, everyone. Yeah, we'll just see what them come in. Mhm. Yep, they're just coming in. So we'll just wait for everyone to give their questions. Oh yeah, I can see a few. Okay, we've got a few. So Simran says, do you agree with the opinion which describes in the beginning of starting a business, people face problems, but then they feel okay? So do you agree with the narrative that there are lots of problems in the beginning, but things feel okay in the end? Is it that easy?
So, I think Simran has a good point. His mentality is it's correct in to a certain degree. So I think that one of the most difficult things, and this is based on observation and experience, but one of the most difficult things that I've ever encountered is obviously starting a business. So I think the sentiment that you'll run into a lot of problems is very true. I think obviously it's by nature of being entrepreneur and trying to start something new and not really having that framework or a guide to really guide you through that process. But I also do think that Summer makes a good point as to, feeling okay. So from what I've observed is that, every step of the way, there's usually some sort of mistake or, some learning experience, but then ultimately you do come out stronger at the end. Like you typically, and again, this is from my experiences working at a startup, but the team makes a lot of mistakes along the way, but then every step of the way they continue to reflect back and learn on those mistakes. And then the next time, things become a little more smooth and you're able to anticipate problems well in advance. You're able to address them a lot more quickly. So yes, I think to a certain degree that is kind of the right sentiment. It's also the best sentiment to carry you forward and to continue being motivated. And I think that is the most critical part of actually running a business, is to not let certain problems deter you from continuing forward if you really believe in your product and you really believe in your service. So again, that ability to encounter problems, learn from it, move forward to a point where you'll feel okay, you'll be able to overcome those issues. Definitely very well aligns with what Simran was getting at.
Yeah. Yeah, there may be a lot of problems, but you just have to think creatively. So I think that's a good attitude towards the enterprise adventure in general, by the way. So next question is Mortuza, who says, I'm new to business and have no idea about making my own business idea. So do you have any idea about the varieties of business that teams can afford?
Mm-hmm. So I think, okay. So I think that addressing the first part of Murtuza's statement is, I'm new to business. I have no idea about making my own business. I think that a big part of being an entrepreneur and being a business owner is just once you have that idea and you've developed enough conviction in it and you've done enough research, all it really starts with is an idea. And then from there, say one day in your sleep, whatever you're doing, a genius idea pops into your mind. Being able to take a little bit of time to do some research into that. And then I think the next thing, and the only thing you can do is really just to start to put that into action. And, with respect to, and, again, a lot of what propels you forward is obviously self-motivation, but also being able to surround yourself with the right people. So maybe collecting 1 to 2 friends who are excited by the idea, and then obviously the three or however many of you working together to move that forward is really the best way to get things started. So the only way to start is to really start. Secondly, with respect to, I believe the second part of his question, or the second part of Martuse's question was, what would be cost effective or cost attainable to teenagers? That's a good question. I mean, I think that especially nowadays, given the number of resources at our disposal, whether that's digital marketing or free technologies, I actually do think there is a lot that is within the realm of what, a young entrepreneur can achieve. Um, Again, it just requires research and requires a really deep understanding of what resources you currently have at your disposal. And I think that there's no limit to what you can do, but it's about being methodical and being, thoughtful about, again, what you currently have, what you need going forward. And then from there, determining if it's, worth the effort or the initiative to really get that started. But again,
Yeah.
surround yourself with the right people and gather a team together. That is the most important step to really start.
I agree. And I would just say, in addition to that, Mortuza, that you should focus on, as Hannah says, just getting started. It doesn't matter if it's perfect to start with. The hardest part is just taking that first step. It should be something that you're passionate about, so you don't get bored. And I would say also, if you'll really start look at some of the inspiration on the Enterprise Adventure website, on our YouTube, it has a few interviews with other young people like you who have started businesses of their own, and you might be able to get a few ideas from them. So as we're running short of time, I'm afraid this will have to be our final question. So from Simranjeet, who says, how can I enhance my business so I can gain more public support?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And I think that we've touched upon a lot of that throughout the course of this discussion. But, I think for me personally, I've always been of the mentality that you focus on what you currently have, where your company currently stands. You take the time to understand where the gaps are, what issues you're currently facing. You research and understand how you can resolve those issues. You take the time to identify how you can grow in the long term and in the medium to near term. And in terms of, that public receptiveness or that attention or that embrace, I think that really comes naturally once you have a very strong company, you have a very strong product, and you have, a very strong service to provide. And again, when you focus on that as your first priority, that receptiveness and that positive reaction will naturally come from your existing customers who will spread that feedback to other people. And again, kind of touching upon the other road to success lever that we had discussed about marketing, really just having that track record of success and positive feedback and being able to promote that to new customers and to the public as well ultimately is what is going to get you more customers and more public positive reception to your product or your service. So again, it's about focusing on the fundamentals, appropriate marketing, and really being able to spread that positive feedback to a host of new people, as well as strengthening that sentiment amongst your existing core audience.
Well explained. We hope that answers your question, Simranjeet. And I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for a wonderful interactive session. I could see you all really active in the chat, and that's really wonderful to see. And thank you so much for talking to us today, Hannah. Your explanations were really appreciated. They were really clear and detailed, and I think everyone had a good time. So thank you everyone for showing up today. We'll send you the email recording soon. That might be landing in your inbox later today or possibly tomorrow, along with the masterclass available on the Enterprise Adventure site, and you'll be able to get a certificate then. So that might be arriving late today or early tomorrow. So thank you so much for attending, everyone. It's been great. Bye.
Hi, thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Have a nice day. Bye.